Yeah, I'm gonna wait for Facebook to connect because I know it takes about 30 minutes to 30 seconds. I'm sorry, to a minute for Facebook to connect. But while we're to connect, I'm equally going to say this: a man is not a man of value. I think Facebook has connected. A man is not a man of value until people around him, people that believe in him, has qualified him to be a man of value. That is how it is. And life has made it like that. We can change stories, we can change history, we can change nature. I do understand that sometimes in life, we as a people, we like to, do things how we want, do things the way we see it fit, because that's just who we are. We like to do things our ways. But sometimes our ways are not the right ways. The right way sometimes is nature. And nature itself knows how to do things because nature is bound by the principle of God or the principle of the maker who made it. It's a thing that some of us don't like, but it's a life for which we have to live by. One thing about automotive or automobile is that in automobile, for automobile to operate, automobile has to operate by the principle by which that car was built for. Computers cannot operate outside their configurations because what happens is that when something operates outside its configurations, the default will force it to come back to default because things are bound to happen based on their programming. Animals don't operate outside the bounds of their configuration. Nature holds animals to task to operate within the boundaries with which they were made or created. So applies to humans. Humans cannot operate outside nature. So when humans operate outside nature, nature fights back. If you see so many engineering designs that have been made, they are made based on the principles of physics. So when we as humans operate outside the boundaries of those principles, there is something that is called deformations during stress and strain. So those deformations, when they occur, you have what we call elasticity, and when something is done outside the bounds of that elasticity, or when an instrument or a metal is stretched outside the bounds of that elasticity, it becomes inelastic, which means that the material that the object cannot return back to its original state. It's inelastic and it's gone forever. It becomes a wasted object. So when a man having characteristics that define him to be a man, which is provision and protection, if that man doesn't operate in those characteristics, the man in him bucks, just like a material will buck when outstretched out of the boundaries of its configuration. It will buck. That's the same way a man will buck when not operating under the configuration which is he as a man was made to operate, which is nature. When he operates outside nature, his his boundaries of his elasticity boundaries becomes inelastic because he has exceeded that elasticity. So the man will break and the man will be confused and he might not return back to its original state for the rest of his life. So it is cumbersome that a man, when raised, shall be raised in the ways with which a man functions. a male child should be taught from childhood how to operate as a man. He should live in that the rest of his life. Because when animal gives birth to an animal, that animal is trained in a way that that animal will exhibit animal instincts, because it's very vital that that animal should exhibit animal instinct in order not to cross away from the boundaries of its animal characteristics. Because when it does go away or crosses the line of those boundaries, that animal pays a price for it. It pays a price. So, those two characteristics that make a man is very vital. I will talk about what we call provision. When it comes to provision, provision means that a man has to go out there and become an apprentice. Apprentices are done in various ways. You can learn trade or you can go to the university. Those are the two most common apprenticeship that are out there. Learning trade or, going to university or going through educational system. So when you go through educational system, what you do as an apprentice or a university or a student is to learn the basis that is required for you to go out there in order to tame the land, farm the land, make sure that there pay attention to the weather before you farm in the right season, so that your crops can yield seeds and then you can harvest it during the harvest period. And that's how you provide your provision. So, when you go through universities, what I'm actually saying in essence is this: you have to go discover you, discover who you are, discover at which level can you operate, what talents do you possess, and what kind of business acumen do you have? What area of business can you best fit to serve yourself in order to have provisions and to serve the common good of the human race? So, as a man, you have to be out there to obtain what it takes to take care of things that are very vital to you. And one of those things that are going to be very vital to you is provision to yourself first. And then, second, to make a place for somebody else to come in, of which you have to provide to same individual that happens to be an opposite sex. And when that same individual comes into your life, with this short period of time, there is another individual coming due to human activity. And when this individual or individuals come into your life with both of your lives through the course of human activity, you as a man has to provide. But with the first individual that came into your life, now you don't have provisions anymore as something that you have to do. You also have to bring in protection, because that individual demands protection from you. The reason why that individual demands protection from you is that is something she cannot provide for herself. She cannot provide protection for herself. A woman's protection comes from a man. A man has to provide those protection. And when through that human activity between the two of you, that brings about a second human being into your life, or two human beings or more, depending on how the production happens. Now you have more people to provide and protect. But my discussion for this first segment is going to focus on provision. But to get to that provision is what I was discussing earlier, which means you have to go find yourself, discover you. But before discovering you, there are people that brought you into this life that are supposed to instict such a discipline inside you for you to know, understand the principles of life, and also the characteristics that makes you human being, and the instinct that you're supposed to have as a human being, because it's called human instinct. And human instinct is what? Survival. For you to survive today and beyond until your old age, or the day of your demise, you have to always operate on your human instinct. So operating on those human instinct is huge burden, but it is a burden that you must carry, because if you do not carry those burdens, you will die in this jungle. Case in point, a lion. When you see a lion in the forest, no, I'm sorry, in the jungle, you see a lion in search of food. And if you, as a human being, happen to be an exhibitor in that jungle, taking pictures to see how animals behave, that lion will kill an animal that you really love. But you can't stop him from killing it, because the rangers will ban you from ever coming to that game reserve, because animals has to exhibit animals instinct, and you are warned before entering that you cannot stop or intervene when animals are exhibiting animal instinct. Because what happens is that if you stop it from happening, now you starving that animal from eating. And if that animal doesn't eat, just like a lion, does not kill, they will starve to death. They will die. The same applies to human beings. But one thing that has made it so trivial is the fact that we, as human beings, we have parents that babysit us through the course of life, and in some cases, these parents actually go against nature by leaving us wealth, by leaving us inheritance. That those inheritance doesn't make us to be a better person tomorrow, but rather it corrupts us. It makes us reliant, and then we never exhibited the animal instinct of hunting, because our parents left more than enough. But the greatest gift that a parent can give to a child is to train them on how to hunt. You shouldn't leave inheritance to your children whereby they will never be hunters, but live off of your inheritance for years, decades to come. It's not good, because you've denied that child of understanding the basic instinct of human operation. That is why I make programs like this, that every human being, especially males, should understand how to hunt, because hunting is the main characteristics that a man operates on. And when you know how to hunt, just like our ancestors taught us, you can be able to pass this skill down from generations to generations. And that's the only way animals survive in the animal kingdom. They pass hunting skills from generations to generations. So, there are many ways to obtain provision. One of the greatest ways to obtain provision is to know what you are good at. Understand the basic principles of business. But before you go into business, sit yourself down and ask yourself questions. These questions might in some cases not be a day question that you can answer in a day. You can ask yourself all the questions that you need to be able to operate a business in a single day. No, you can't do that. What you have to do in that regard is to sit yourself down. When you sit yourself down, you ask yourself in multiple occasions, different times, on how to do this business. Are you qualified to do this business? If you have what it takes to do this business, and find out, have you ever had any apprenticeship in doing this business? Have you studied the business? Do you know people that know this business, people that can do this business? And if you can participate in this business, is this a business that you think that you can do and become successful? And do you have the temperament to be a businessman? That is why I'm talking about provision. Because to be a provider in the house, you have to know your limits. If you cannot be a businessman, get a job. If you have a job thinking to be a businessman and know that you cannot be it, stay in your job. But one other thing that I've also told people to do in so many cases when it comes to business is to understand that business is very vital. It's not something you just go in blindly. It's not something you walk in when you feel like it. But it's something that you have to go into and understand the basic principles of it. And when you know you cannot operate in the confinement of these business principles, seek for somebody to invest your money into their own business. You don't have to take a large percentage of returns because you might not be the one running the business. But in case you are putting the same amount of time, the same amount of effort, the same amount of money, yes, you go 50-50. But when one of those are lacking, that means your percentage of return reduce. But I will tell you this, don't take this the wrong way. You rather have people working for you 100% of the time than for you to work for yourself 100% of the time. And this is the reason why. And I think this quotation was made by Rockefeller, according to what I heard. It is a credit to J.D. Rockefeller. I have to add that in citation so that way I don't prejudice. But the reason why I'm saying this is because having this kind of thing happen, having this kind of mindset will give you the opportunity that, okay, if I cannot do business because I don't have what it takes or what it possesses to be a good business individual, I can actually invest my hard earned cash in various businesses so that when I retire or when I start, getting those dividends, right? I don't have to work, but I will have incomes coming in because I invested in different businesses that are yielding me return. So you can invest certain amount of money into business and take certain amount of shares, and at the end of the month, you having various incomes coming in because you invested in multiple businesses. Now these are all your yields coming in. You can actually live somewhere, anywhere in this world and never work. But you know that you're getting returns due to your investment. But you also have to be mindful on the investment, because certain investment require only certain amount of return for certain period of time. Meaning that if you invest money into a business and they told you that they're going to pay you back this money with interest, meaning that the business owner doesn't want you to be a long-term investor. This is what we call intermediate, or in some cases is intermediate investor, or it is a temporary investor, which means when your cash, when your capital, invested capital is accumulated, which means when you've gotten your return on your investments capital, then the percentage of return that was agreed upon, which is your yield, gets repaid to you. Because first your capital has been repaid, now your yield has been repaid based on how long it's going to be repaid, in some cases by percentage, or in some cases by amount. Because in some cases they might say that, okay, this is your principal, $50,000 is your principal. Your return on this investment might be $20,000 or $10,000, which is anywhere between 20% or 40% of your investment. Okay, if they are returning back this money, that means you will not have subsequent returns anymore. Once this yield is returned, your investment portfolio with these people cease. So you got to be careful. But in some cases, you are actually buying percentage of the company. Now you're paying attention. Percentage of the company. If you're buying percentage of the company, you're not being an investor, but you've been a part owner by share. You see what I'm saying? Now, when you become a part owner by share, right? As an investor, your percentage will be somewhat in an exciting threshold, because you're putting a lot of capital down towards this company. That's number one. Number two, you buy a large amount, certain percentage of that company is a long-term investment. That will give you a long-term return. Sometimes the return is perpetual. So if the return is perpetual in each case, that means you are going to be earning a lot of money for a long time. So that is why when you invest in companies where you have a perpetual return, which means until the company ceases to exist, you will be getting return in that business. What happened at that moment becomes this: you as an individual will be in a very good footing. Your return on investment will be huge. And what you want to do is also, just like I was speaking with some couple today, they were asking me some questions on investment. I told them, you want to do a long term investment, but you also want to do multiple investments. I usually do advise people in their that have capital, excess, that have a lot of capital, or in their older age, to invest in company that they believe is going to thrive, is going to bring return, and is going to last. Because what happens is that when they invest in these companies, not company, companies, their return on investment becomes so huge that they can literally live anywhere in the world and be paid and never to work again. You see what I'm saying? But you have to know that to the person, the individual that you're investing into, is a true company, true operating company that, according to their investment portfolio, is going to be there for a while. Because one thing about this current generation is that most people that do startups will do startup to sell to the highest bidder. And when they sell their startup to the highest bidder, the chance of you still being an investor in that company might dwindle or disappear, because those companies that are the purchaser, that's the future owner of that company, have their own investors, and they are using their investors' capitals or to buy this company. And in some cases, they might take you as an investor, depending on how much you brought in, or they might offload you as an investor. So you have to be aware of that. That is why it's good to read, to understand, to pay attention to what you're investing into. But if you are a large investor, which means you are bringing most money that startup company or company that you're investing into, you happen to be the largest investor, one of the largest investors. Of course, you know when things happen, when things are going to happen, you definitely going to be briefed. So investment capitals will not play in that because of the laws that govern those kind of businesses. But what I'm saying basically is that you have to do business and do it right. So protection, by making the right investment, bringing in money home, you are providing protection to your family. Kids, wife, they're all happy when money is coming in. A family, a man of value, a man of income with discipline, that knows how to discipline his family, will live and enjoy the fruit of his labor, especially when you have a wife that is cooperative. You got to know that. But I'm not here to discuss our family. I'm here to discuss investment in this segment. But I'm just saying that this is what makes a man. So knowing and understanding investment is something that I believe that people should do. People should do that. You should understand that. You should do that and do it to the to greater level, because having money or doing investment is a high quality and good characteristics of getting things done in your life, in the life of your family, and that's for society at large. So being a man of provision and knowing how to obtain those provision, knowing what to invest in, how to invest, how to make your money, and also make your money work for you. That is very, very, very important. In fact, I'm going to do a whole segment that will deal on how to make your money work for you. You see, I'm not going to dive too much into this segment, but it's going to be the next segment that I'm going to treat, how to make your money work for you as a man and also as a woman, because there are very, very smart women out there. But my program mostly will focus on men, because the reason why I want to focus on men is this, right? We have to build men of quality, men of substance. We have to build men that will provide, men that will build company. We need to see more companies out there, especially in our community. In Black community, we need to talk more about how lands can be purchased, how wealth can be built, how to build wealth over time. Not short-term wealth. I'm not going to really discuss short-term wealth or short-term wealth on my program. I'm going to be discussing long-term wealth. I'm going to be discussing security matters. I'm going to be discussing behavioral matters. Behavioral. That's how we can behave in certain circumstances, how to keep your calm, keep your cool, how to behave in public, and also the fact that image matters. Like I know the last video that I did the other time was about image. I'm going to expand on that image again, but I actually want to put more emphasis that's focused mostly on how we as men, especially Black men, can build wealth in this country and in Africa. This is the basis of my video: building wealth across the globe. how we can invest all over the world. We have to invest all over the world. We cannot just invest in a country where we were born and raised, or a country where we were born or raised, or a country of our residence. No, we have to go global. It is incumbent that we as a people have to go global. We cannot stay in our place of comfort any longer. We have to do businesses in every place and in all places and in every lungu and cronies around the world. We as a black people should stop that mindset of doing things going to be part of my next segment. My next segment is going to treat, my next video is going to treat so much on black enterprise, on how to expand our businesses into the global market. We have to go global. We don't have to live in only a few countries, but in the countries where we live and thrive, we have to build mechanisms on how to build wealth and how to get wealth in those countries, prove and how to make sure that we as a people will have access to market, to global markets. We have to do it. A lot of people are investing into Africa. We as Africans have to now start investing in our own continent, but also with a mindset of going global as well. We have to as well go global. But let's start investing in our continent, but with this, but simultaneously making ways to go to other countries. Because I gotta tell you something that a lot of us don't understand. When our countries sign trade deal with other countries, we all have the same quota, which means, let me use airline as an example. I'm going to end this video. I really want to end this video so that way I don't give up too much. But let me just give this one example, and this is it. So that the next video will be very, very impactful. Let me say airline as an example. When a country like United Arab Emirates come to Nigeria and sign open sky agreement, right? So what it means basically is that maybe in a whole week, there are going to be like seven, let me just say about 7 Emirates that will come in that week. Or maybe let me just put it 14 Emirates that are coming in that week. So if these 14 Emirates are coming in that way, they are open to 3 airports, right? So each airport takes in about 2 to 3 flights a day, 4, 5, 6 days a week to accommodate the whole 14 of Emirates coming in to Nigeria. But Nigeria also have the same slot of Nigerian airliners going to Dubai, you see, or going into the Emirates, the same amount. But when we as Africans don't invest, those open sky, even though it's an agreement signed, but it's useless for our own return on investment because we're not utilizing that open sky agreement. Or slot agreement. Let me just use the word slot because I know they usually use the word slot. So we're not even using our own slot. So when we're not using our own slot, it becomes economically devastating because we're not creating jobs for our people in Nigeria and creating jobs for our people in Dubai because some Nigerians are supposed to be living in Dubai to work for that airline, whereby remitting money back to their own country, to Nigeria. And then we are losing millions of dollars every year to Nigeria on that route or route. So that's why I'm going to go in next week. No, this week, probably on Tuesday, to discuss this. It's going to be an epic conversation. So we are going to discuss investment in Africa. That's the next title. I'm going to put it up now and discuss investment in Africa. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good night. Bye bye.